2,000 years ago, in the humble town of Nazareth, a young woman named Mary experienced an encounter that has changed history forever.
Hello, welcome to the World News on Voice of the People TV. I am Masinachi Okafor. Before we begin the news, kindly visit our website www.vop.ng for fresh and trending news. And for call-in and WhatsApp, the number is 0904-473-2605. We begin the news today from the U.S., where the U.S. President Joe Biden has issued presidential pardons to 39 Americans convicted to non-violent crimes and commuted the sentences of nearly 1,500 other people. The White House described it as the most acts of presidential clemency issued in a single day. Announcing the move, President Biden said those pardoned had shown successful rehabilitation and have shown commitment to making their communities stronger and safer. The U.S. Constitution decrees that the President has the broad power to grant repeals and pardons for offenses against the United States except in cases of impeachment. Also, earlier this month, Biden issued a controversial pardon to his son Hunter, which continued to recent trend of presidents pardoning people close to them. Away from that report, Meta has donated $1 million to an inauguration fund for Donald Trump in another sign of the tech giant's boss, Mark Zuckerberg, attempting to build bridges with the president-elect. Trump has previously been highly critical of Zuckerberg and Facebook, calling the platform anti-Trump in 2017. But the pair dined at Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort in November, a meeting Zuckerberg afterwards described himself as grateful for. Inauguration funds are used to pay for events and activities when a new president takes office. Moving on, U.S. President-elect Donald Trump says he will pick Cardi Lake, a former news anchor and a hardline Republican who failed to win an Arizona Senate seat last month, to be the director of U.S. government-funded media outlet Voice of America. Also, Trump, in a post on his Truth Social site, said Lake will ensure that the American values of freedom and liberty are broadcast around the whole fairly and the world fairly and accurately. Lake, a strong Trump supporter who was echoed his false claims about fraud at the 2020 election, also lost the governor's race in swing state Arizona in 2022 and was previously an anchor at Phoenix-based Fox 10. Voice of America is an international media broadcaster that operates in more than 40 languages online and on radio and television. In another development, Federal Bureau of Investigation Director Christopher Ware says he will resign before President-elect Donald Trump, who has indicated he would fire him, takes office next month. Ware announced at an internal FBI meeting that he had decided to step aside after weeks of consideration. Trump has already nominated Kash Patel, who has called for drastically limiting the FBI's authority to lead the law enforcement agency, where whom Trump nominated in 2017 to a 10-year term, has faced criticism during his tenure from Republicans due to the FBI's investigation into the former president after he left office. Elsewhere, Syrian rebel forces have said they plan to close the notoriously harsh prisons run by UST President Bashar al-Assad and hunt those involved in the killing or torture of detainees. Rebel leader Ahmed al-Sahara has also known as Abu Muhammad al-Jolani, who said he would dissolve the security forces of the former regime. UK-based monitoring group Syrian Observatory for Human Rights claimed in a report that almost 60,000 people were tortured and killed in the prisons run by Assad. Jolani's Islamist militant group, Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, led other Syrian rebel factions in an offensive that toppled the Assad dynasty's 54-year rule. Assad fled to Russia in the early hours of Sunday, where he and his family have been given asylum after rebels captured and capital Damascus. We're still in the Middle East. Gaza Civil Defense says 7 guards were killed in a strike in Rafah, while another attack left 5 guards dead in Khan Younis. The agency said in a separate Israeli attack, 15 people were killed near Nusret refugee. Hamas says Israeli military strikes have killed at least 700 people. Police tasked with securing aid lorries in Gaza since the latest war began on 7 October 2023. The Israeli military has, in the meantime, that claimed it conducted prize strikes on armed Hamas terrorists who had planned to hijack the lorries. Meanwhile, the United Nations General Assembly has voted for an immediate, unconditional and permanent ceasefire in the Gaza Strip. The resolution was approved by 158 votes in favor out of 193-member assembly, with 9 votes against and 13 abstentions. Notably, it also marked the first time that Germany and Italy voted in favor of a ceasefire in Gaza. As a result, the United States is the only country in the group of 7 major industrialized nations that continues to oppose it. General Assembly resolutions are not legally binding, but they hold political significance, representing the global opinion on Israel's war in Gaza. Joining us to analyze the stories is VOP TV in-house analyst Mr. Peter Anosike. Welcome, Mr. Peter.
Thank you for having me.
Well, so let's start with President Joe Biden. The fact that he has granted pardon to a lot of inmates, a lot of prisoners, and we also saw about a few weeks ago that he granted his son Hunter pardon, which of course he did mention earlier that he was not going to meddle into that issue, he was going to allow the law to take its course. But then he pardoned his son. And of course, a lot of people are, raised eyebrows, and people are asking, why would he meddle into the law? But of course, he didn't mention the fact that he feels like his son Hunter's case was more like a special one because of the fact that he's the president of the United States of America. And people have, kind of picked interest in that case, which of course was maybe one of the reasons why he had to grant his son pardon along other persons. So how do you react to this? Do you think he purposely, or maybe strategically granted others freedom just so that it would be like a fair game for his son and the others he was granted bail?
To start with, it is within his powers to grant pardon, amnesty, and other stuff. There's in the prisons, there's a body known as Board of Mercy, who check inmates, and those who behave well, their names are taken to the president or to the governor for their sentences to be commuted or to be pardoned. So it is within the power of the president or the chief justice of a state of a country to do that. There's no problem about that. But the controversy is on Hunter Biden.
Yeah.
Because Donald Trump was saying that his trials, his conviction were politically motivated. And when he was talking about political motivation, that everything was aimed at stopping him from contesting. which we know is true.
Well, that's your opinion.
Which we know that it is true because Donald, even in the last interview about 3 days ago that Donald Trump was interviewed, he said that the whole aim was to use court to pull him down since they know that they cannot beat him, which we also know that is true. Because in the 2024 general election, Democrats has no candidates. Biden wasn't a candidate that can match Donald Trump. Harris wasn't a candidate that can match Donald Trump. So the only way to keep him out of the election was using the DOJ, what they call the Department of Justice. And mind you, the DOJ reports to Biden. Understand? Biden is in charge of the justice. Then how can, and you are in power, how can they now witch hunt your own son? Does it make any sense? It doesn't.
But would you say that that is actually witch hunt? Because we know very well that Hunter, which is Biden's son, actually had a case of tax evasion. And also he was found with a gun that was not licensed. So how would you say that that is actually a witch hunt?
That's what Biden said.
Okay.
That he was charged from just because he is the president's son. I'm quoting him.
Okay.
That he was charged and convicted just simply because he is the president's son. And the man, he did not just pardon him of the offense. He pardoned him for every offense he had committed between 2010, understand me?
Yeah.
2014 to 2024, that's 10 years. Which means all the offenses that are committed from 2014 to 2024, even those that are not being prosecuted now, he has pardoned them of all such offenses, which had not happened anywhere in the world before. And Biden was known as a man of integrity. Now, doing this kind of a thing puts that integrity into question. And it is also something that is going to affect his own party even in 2028. Understand me? It's going to affect them even in 2028 because they are no more practicing what they are preaching. So, and the other one that he now wants to do is to give what is known as preemptive pardon. That's in case any of his members that Donald Trump may want to go against.
Yeah.
Understand me? Which is not in the Constitution of the United States. There's nothing like preemptive pardon. You only pardon when a case is brought to the court and you are found guilty. There's no way you can give somebody who has not been charged preemptive pardon. So he is confused now. They have not really known what hit them since November 5th. Understand me? Democrats are confused. They have not really, they don't know what hit them since this November 5th. Because their whole mind was that the election was going to be walkover. Because Donald Trump was a convict, Donald Trump was a rapist, but Donald Trump got the message which they don't have.
Which is?
The economy, the welfare of the people. Understand me? Nobody traced on abortion. They campaigned only on abortion. But the economy was bad. 67% of American citizens said that their country was going on a wrong direction. And Harris said that he will continue from where Biden stopped, which means going towards that bad direction.
Yeah.
And with what happened in 2024, November, I don't see them coming back at 2032.
Well, we never know. You never can tell. Well, moving away from that, we're still talking the United States of America. Meta has donated $1 million to the inauguration fund for Donald Trump. And we do recall the situationship between Mark Zuckerberg and Trump. And yes, Donald Trump.
Zuckerberg, let me shock you.
Okay.
Zuckerberg rigged 2020 election in favor of Biden.
Well, that's your opinion.
He rigged 2020 election in favor of Biden. He donated $500 million to the Democrats. So what Zuckerberg did in 2020 was exactly what
Elon Musk
did in 2024. So now they are afraid that Elon Musk, by being very close to Donald Trump, may come after them. So what he's doing, just a risk, that's a save my son mission.
Is it really a save my soul situation, or is it a situation of, trying to be diplomatic and being manly enough to, understand that they are all for the progress of the United States?
No, he knew that Donald Trump can come after him. He knew that Donald Trump will come after him. And even Jeff Bezos, who is the owner of Washington Post, when he realized that Donald Trump is going to win this election, he stopped Washington Post from endorsing Kamala Harris.
Right.
So what he's doing now is just to see that Donald Trump don't come after him. So he's trying to win favors. But time will tell whether he's going to succeed or not.
Well, they actually dined in Trump's result in November, last month. So let's hope that something good comes out of the two of them, regardless of their differences. Well, we're still talking Trump. The U.S. Donald Trump says he will pick Kari Lake, a former news anchor and a hardline Republican who failed to win an Arizona Senate seat. And that was last month. And we all know that, of course, Kari is a full-time supporter of Donald Trump. But then how do you think this might pan out? Dating it back to Nigeria, where we have our president, picking a lot of, persons to be in his cabinet. And then Nigerians are complaining, like Nigerians are saying that, oh yeah, he's picking his people. So do you think that there's really anything wrong with the president of the country picking people that he feels most comfortable with working with?
Personally, you cannot pick your enemies when you win an election.
Okay.
You cannot pick your enemies. You pick those who will be loyal to you, and who you will be comfortable with working. Donald Trump made that mistake in 2016, and those that he picked worked against him, most of them. Understand? This time around, he is picking his own people, those that trusted him. And I'm sure then the FBI guy.
I was about coming to him, yeah.
The FBI guy was the person that led his members to go and invade the Donald Trump residence.
That's Christopher Ware.
When they were talking about classified documents, that he went home with some sensitive documents that from the White House. So Donald Trump was shocked. How can somebody who he gave appointment in 2016 will now be working against him? So this guy had decided that he's going to resign even before Trump come on. But Trump has already said, I'm going to kick him out. And he's going to face a prosecution.
But isn't that unprofessional, actually? Why would Trump want to kick him out if he's actually doing his job?
You don't promote your enemies. Understand
but he's the president of
you don't promote your enemies, even if or you are the pastor of the church.
If that actually happened in Nigeria, would you be comfortable with that?
You don't promote your enemies.
No. Let's bring it back home to Nigeria. If let's say the president of Nigeria, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, had a similar case with that of Donald Trump, and he comes out to say, you know what, I'm going to fire the boss of the EFCC. Would you actually say the same thing that you're saying about Trump's case?
If the boss of the EFCC deserves to be fired, he should be fired.
Oh, but you're changing your words.
No.
He deserves to be fired.
Why this one is to be fired is because he led a group that invaded Donald Trump's home.
Okay.
So which means
For evidence.
sure, he said that Donald Trump went with some classified documents.
Okay.
That document that are supposed to be in the White House were now found in Donald Trump's house.
But he was only doing his job. Don't you think so?
But somebody gave you this job.
Well, whoever it is that gives a person a job, don't you think it's to the person's honor that they carry out their job regardless of whoever it is that is involved?
How you got that job is important.
I see. Okay. Well, moving on before we wrap up this segment. The Syrian rebel forces have said that they plan to close the notoriously harsh prisons run by ex-President Bashar al-Assad and hunt those who, tortured and killed detainees. Well, we know the story of, Ahmed al-Assad's story and, how the story surrounding the situation. How do you react to that?
Well, for me, I don't know how the Syrian situation is going to pan out.
Okay.
Because Jonani is a terrorist. That's the head of the Syrian rebel now, who is going to head this government, is a terrorist. Understand? His group NH is affiliated with Al-Qaeda and ISIS. And America has 10 million naira bounty on his head. So he is a wanted man. So now I wonder if America will allow such a man to be the head of the Syrian government. So, but Assad was a very terrible person who continued from his father's evil ways.
But then, sorry to cut you there, the fact that he fled to Russia and he was granted asylum with himself and his family, how do you actually, how do we judge this?
Well, Assad was being supported by Iran and Russia. So this is interest, a matter of interest. So he has been loyal to Russia. So because if he was there, they would have killed him. And Russia has to grant him asylum. Understand? There's no two ways about it. He cannot run to UK. He cannot run to United States. So he ran to where he felt that he would be accepted. Understand? So he ran to Russia, and there's no way Putin would chase him out because he has been supporting him over the years. But the war in Ukraine made him to forget what is happening in Syria, which helped the rebels to come in. Understand? So he has been his friend for a long time. So that is the reason why he has to accept him in Moscow. Even as bad as Idi Amin was during his own time, Saudi Arabia gave him asylum, and he died in Saudi Arabia. So this is what countries do. It didn't start today, and it's not going to end today.
All right. Well, the United Nations General Assembly has voted for an immediate and unconditional permanent ceasefire in Gaza Strip.
The United Nations is a toothless bulldog.
Why do you say so?
They don't have any power of enforcement. United Nations is like our own ECOWAS court. They can just talk, but no action. So it is Syria, it is Israel that will accept ceasefire. Understand? And they know whether it will be temporal or permanent. Just like just like what they did with Hezbollah. United Nations did not force them to do that. So they cannot also force them to do that in Gaza. So that's why I said that it is a toothless bulldog. They don't have power to enforce anything.
All right. Well, let's see how that pans out at the end of the day. Thank you so much, Mr. Peter Anasike, for being on the news analysis segment with us today.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Of course, more news comes your way after this break. Stay with us. Welcome back and thanks for staying tuned. South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol said he would fight to the end as his own political party shifted closer to voting with the opposition to impeach him over his short-lived martial law order that threw the country into crisis. In a lengthy televised address, he alleged that North Korea had hacked South Korea's election commission, casting doubt on his party landslide election defeat in April. President Yu, whose country has Asia's fourth largest economy, hopes political allies will rally to support him, but this appeared less likely after his address. The leader of his ruling People Power Party said the time had come for Yoon to resign to be impeached by Parliament. This report says that a man who tried to set fire to a hotel housing asylum seeker has been jailed for 9 years, the joint longest prison sentence in connection with the UK's summer of riots. Levi Fishlock smashed windows and stalked a flaming beam at the Holiday Inn Express in Manvers, Rotherham, during a spate of disorder on 4th August. Fishlock initially denied violent disorder and arson with intent to endanger life, but later pleaded guilty to the charges. Fishlock's sentence, which also includes a 5-year license period after he is released from jail, is the same as that of Thomas Breley, who was also part of the 400-strong crowd, some of whom attempted to touch the hotel in South Yorkshire. 17 years after Romania and Bulgaria joined the European Union, they have been given the green light to become members of its broad-free Schengen travel zone. This decision by fellow EU member states means that from 1st January 2025, it will be possible to drive all the way to France, Spain, or Norway without a passport. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said in a statement that it was a moment of huge relief for the 25 million people who live in Romania and Bulgaria and who will finally feel accepted as full members of the EU. Although border checks were lifted on travel by air and sea for the two countries last March. It was only last month that Australia lifted its resistance to ending border checks by land. The Australian state of Queensland has passed laws which will see children as young as 10 subject to the same penalties as adults if convicted of crimes such as murder, serious assault, and break-ins. The government says the harsher sentencing rules are in response to community outrage over crimes being perpetrated by young offenders and will act as a deterrent by many experts. But many experts have pointed to research showing that tougher penalties do not reduce youth offending and can in fact worsen it. The United Nations has also criticized the reforms, arguing that the penalties do not reduce youth offending and can in fact worsen it. The United Nations have also criticized the reforms, arguing they disregard conventions on the human rights of children and violate international law. Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva is set to undergo a second medical procedure to address bleeding on the surface of his brain. Doctors at the Sírio-Libanese hospital in Sao Paulo, Brazil, announced that the procedure in a statement. This new procedure follows a 2-hour surgery Lula underwent on Tuesday to treat health problems stemming from a fall at home in late October. We'll go on another short break, and when we come back, we'll talk business and sports stories. Stay tuned. Welcome back and thanks for staying tuned. Now to some business stories. The Australian government has announced plans to tax big tech firms if they fail to share revenue with local news media organizations. The measure, applicable from January 1st, will force firms like Meta and Google with an Australian-based revenue in excess of 250 million Australian dollars to pay for content or face a hefty tax bill that could amount to millions. Announcing the move, Communications Minister Michelle Rowland said that the rapid growth of digital platforms had disrupted the media landscape and was threatening the visibility of public interest journalism. Rowland, however, indicated that the parent companies of Google, Facebook, and TikTok would be targeted by the tax, which will be waived if they voluntarily enter into commercial agreements with Australian media companies. Finland's Ministry of Defense has blocked 7 real estate transactions involving 2 Russian buyers on grounds that allowing the acquisitions to take place could threaten national security. Finland has sought to some time to limit Russian citizens' purchase of property near strategic locations based on existing regulations, blocking 3 transactions in October 2023 and another 3 in January this year. Defense Minister Antti Häkkänen said in a statement that the ministry investigates the backgrounds of every real estate buyer coming from outside the European Union and the European Economic Area. Häkkänen added that protecting Finnish national security is particularly important in the current security situation. Relations between Finland and neighboring Russia have soared since Moscow's full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022, promoting Helsinki to join the NATO military alliance after decades of non-alignment. Now to some sports stories. Juan Soto has signed a $765 million deal with Major League Baseball New York Baseball Mets, the biggest contract in the history of the sport. The 15-year deal was confirmed after the 26-year-old Dominican completed a medical. Reacting to the deal, in a statement, Mets owners Steve and Alex Cohen said this was a seminal moment in franchise history, referring to Juan Soto as a generational talent who not only brings staggering historical statistics with him, but also a championship pedigree. Soto was said to be MLB's most sought-after free agent this offseason, having just had the best season of his career with the New York Yankees, with only 3 players hitting more home runs. Soto's new deal is understood to be the largest in professional sports in total value. Manchester City's ongoing crisis shows no sign of ending after Pep Guardiola's side was beating 2-0 away at Juventus in the Championship League. It means City has now won just once in its previous 10 matches, A run that includes 7 defeats. That's as many losses as City suffered in its previous 105 games under Guardiola. Second half games from Duan Valhovi and Weston McKennie wrapped up the 3-point for Vesha Signora and left City in real danger of missing out on a place in the knockout stages. This is City's worst run of form since 2006 and one Guardiola has never faced in his managerial career. And that is all on World News for today. Thanks for watching. Do not forget to join us on YouTube. On YouTube, we are at Voice of the People TV. And other social media handles, we are at VOB TV Live. And of course, for calling on WhatsApp, the numbers to call is 0904 473 2605. I am Masinachi Okafo. Have yourself a wonderful evening.